Hello, Brilliant Pathways. My name is Josh Ott. I am a Brilliant Pathways board member, and I have the distinct honor to introduce you to your next keynote speaker, Dr. Calvin Mackey. We are truly lucky to have the doctor here to share his wisdom and testimony. Please allow me to provide a little bit of context to his career path. Dr. Mackey is an award-winning mentor. He is an inventor. He is an author of 2 books. He is a former engineering professor, internationally renowned speaker, and successful entrepreneur. And when I say award-winning, I don't mean just like a little bit award-winning, like Black Caucus award-winning, awards from the White House type award-winning. In 2013, Dr. Mackey founded STEM NOLA. You guys can count how many times I say STEM in the rest of this. It's going to be a lot. Forgive me. It's a nonprofit organization created to expose and inspire and engage communities in the opportunities of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Dr. Mackey is a true inspiration, but not because he is so decorated in the traditional sense. He is a successful entrepreneur, or because he's a successful entrepreneur, but because he is truly committed to changing people's lives, one person, one child at a time. His life work is about curating the future, one that includes all kids, every last one of them. He oftentimes on camera is caught stating that he is teaching our youth from the neck up, alluding to the fact that we can be way more than just the sum of our body parts as athletes, as basketball players, as football players. To date, STEM NOLA has engaged over 100,000 K-12 students in the hands-on project-based STEM activities. And in 2021, he launched STEM Global Action to advance K-12 STEM education in 47 states and 5 countries. Dr. Mackey is currently building a $15 million center for excellence in STEM education in the city of New Orleans. I guarantee you that will be transformative. And he once stated that we are all impregnated with the greatness. We are all impregnated with greatness. So his work is about seed planting. And I love that. I love it. He's been doing it for so long. Doctor, you are a man with vision and boldness and the courage to turn that vision and boldness into action. So I thank you for that. It's an honor to introduce you. As I mentioned, Dr. Mackey is going to play a short video, but before he does, please join me in a sincere welcoming of Dr. Calvin Mackey.
Our kids will have to have skills to create and to innovate, to participate in the 21st century. And that's why the exposure of STEM is so important. It can't start in middle school or high school or college. It got to start at 4 and 5 years old, so it becomes a part of their lexicon, becomes a part of their DNA. So one day my son came home, he was in the 3rd grade, and he said, "Dad, I don't like science anymore." I'm like, "Boy, that can't be true. It's in your DNA, right?" And he was like, "No, Daddy, my teacher only speaks to the board and I like to do stuff with my hands." I said, "Well, son, we have to fix that." So we start going out into the garage and start doing all these hands-on activities. I start ordering all these different kits. Before you know it, my other son got involved. The kids down the street got involved. I said, "Did you tell him you do this in the garage with your dad?" And he said, "Yeah, Dad, but my friends need this." But the problem there was that my son was going to a magnet school in the state of Louisiana, one of the top schools. And if his friends were not being exposed, what does that say about all the rest of the kids in other neighborhoods and other communities that are not as privileged as his? planned for 100 kids to show up in a gym in New Orleans East. And we had over 350 kids, 150 parents, in the rain in December. And we realized we were on to something. So in New Orleans, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, we had one of the greatest, most expansive ed reform movements, where ed reform, or the charter movement, took over all the schools. But in my experience, in terms of STEM education, the delivery of content and the execution is pretty much the same. A kid may get that by hook or crook, but it's definitely not intentional that that is a part of the curriculum for kids to get that and be prepared for the world before them. We live in a country right now that makes sure every Black and brown boy touches a football before the age of 4. And no one questions that. In the 21st century, our children will only have 3 options. Either they're going to take something, break something, and/or make something. And if we don't give them the skills and education and motivation to make something, that's only going to leave them with the 2 options that we see on the news every night. But just imagine if a kid can come from back of town or girt town of New Orleans and create the next billion-dollar unicorn company and transform the economy in her community for her people. I mean, that's a dream that I dream every day. And I want all of our kids to dream that.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening. All right then, I know I've been here listening to y'all do all that talking. I get up here now, you're gonna get quiet on me. You know, first I'd like to say thank you to Brilliant Pathways and Karen and Rick for having me once again. I'm honored. Anytime anybody asks me to do that, which I think I've been put on this earth to do, I gotta say thank you. It was 10 years ago in Burlington, Vermont, that I was introduced to this organization, and it's just glad to be back and know that for 30 years, you all have been on the ground doing the work that's necessary. And I just hope I can make the impact that you've made. Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to Josh for that introduction. I appreciate the time and the energy that we've spent together. Look forward to getting them to know more about you. I'd like to say thank you to all educators, all the program managers, all the people who run programs, making sure that our children are getting exposed and educated for the 21st century. And to the young people, to the students, I want to say, what's up? How you doing? How's it going down? Are you having a good time? Before I get started, I want the students to know my name is Calvin Mackey, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm from back of town, Girt Town, Zion City. I'm from the lower 9, where we don't mind dying. I'm from that wild magnolia, I thought I told you. I'm from that CP3. You know me. The only thing I'm trying to say, young people, is that I started from the bottom and now I'm here. And before this speech is over, you're gonna realize I can go from 0 to 100 real quick. And I don't need a rapper or an entertainer or somebody on TV to tell me that I got greatness in my DNA. That's why we're here. Because as long as people like you telling our students that they got greatness in their DNA, they know that if they do the hard work and do the things necessary and stay close to people like you, they can one day give birth to it. And before I get started, there's a couple of caveats I got to give out. You saw my beautiful wife, Tracy, on the video. Tracy's a pharmacist and she believes that I'm ADD and I've never been treated before. So there's no way I could do the speech like some of y'all might have thought I should do it. Well, you get that introduction, you thought I was gonna be some highfalutin professor. Hi, I'm Dr. Mack. Nah, it's not going down like that. I'm sorry. You know, I'm that kid, you know, the teacher was like looking at me, she was like, you the one. When I walked in, the teacher knew I was the one, so I'm gonna do my best. to stay within these little boundaries they've given. I'm not gonna knock no trophies down or nothing like that. I'm gonna do well. Caveat number 2, don't confuse my passion with anger. Everywhere I go around this country, now the world, and when I speak my truth, when I talk about the world through my lens and through my experience, usually there's somebody in the back of the room saying, that's an angry young black man right there. I said, no, I'm not angry. I'm passionate. And I'm happy tonight to be here with other passionate people. You know, Martin Luther King said, at the end of the day, it's not the words of my enemies I shall remember, but the silence of my friends. And when you look at the state of education in this country, when you look at the state of community, when you look at the people who are not being exposed and the people that don't have access to the possibilities of the 21st century, look like somebody should be mad, look like somebody should be angry, look like somebody should be taken to the street. But I'm not angry, I'm just passionate. And it's good to be amongst passionate people. I'll never forget, I was speaking at General Electric, and it was at General Electric, and it was Jeff Immelt, one of the most powerful CEOs in the world, me and Al Sharpton. Now that's gangster. I could say gangster, brilliant pathway, all right. Yeah, because I'm bilingual, you know. Yeah, got away. That's gangster. So I turned to President, CEO Immelt, and I said, Jeff, he said, what? I said, tickle me. He said, what? I said, pinch me. He said, Dr. Mackey, what are you talking about? I said, Jeff, dreams do come true. Who ever thought a little black boy from back of town, Gertown, Zion City of New Orleans, will be speaking at a Fortune 500 corporation before 1,500 of your executives? Don't tell me that this ain't the greatest country in the world. And it's still the only place in the world where the kid can get up every day and create a better tomorrow for him or herself. And right then he was like, that's that anger I was afraid of. But James Baldwin said, a passion is angry. He said a passion is unbecoming. He said a passion is contemptuous of all which is not itself. He said a passion contains a mighty intimidating force, but he said a passion contains a challenge, but it contains an unspeakable hope. And everywhere I go around this world speaking about our children and speaking about education, if I'm speaking before people, I will challenge you to do better. If I'm speaking before students, I will challenge you to be better. Because I get up every day and challenge myself to be better. Because this thing called hope is real. Matter of fact, hope is the only thing that many of us got to hold on to. And I know a man ran for president and used the 4-letter words hope. Now everybody want to make hope a bad word. Hope not a bad word. Hope is the only thing that took us from where we were. Hope is the only thing that got us to where we are today. And hope is the only thing that's going to take us to where we need to go. Hope. I got a friend named Dr. True. And Dr. True said, Mackie, when you lose money, when you lose a friend, when you lose money, you've lost a little. When you lose a friend, you lost a lot. He said, when you lose hope, you've lost it all. As I go around the country, look in the eyes of many of our children, look like they've lost it all. But it's our responsibility, Brilliant Pathways, to make sure no matter where we are, and for 30 years, the Daltons have been there giving our children hope. This thing called hope is real. Matter of fact, hope is the thing that caused those ladies to sit down and caused the nation to stand up. Hope is the thing that made Tuskegee Airmen believe they could fly airplanes when their own government told them they couldn't. Hope is the thing that made George Washington Carver do with a peanut 100 years ago that Harvard PhDs still cannot do today. Hope is the thing that turned crackheads into teachers and pimps into preachers. Hope is the thing that made our founding fathers right. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that some, maybe just men, no, all people are created equal. Hope is the thing that made John F. Kennedy say, don't ask what your nation can do for you, ask what you can do for your nation. Hope is the thing that made even George W. Bush, when he ran for president the second time, entitled his stump speech, The Duty of Hope. Even Ronald Reagan, when Ronald Reagan talked about the shining city on the hill, he said, America's the last best hope, Mr. Carter, for man on earth. Now that's some hope for your behind. Hope is the thing that took Jay-Z from big pimping to a billionaire. Hope is the thing that took Make Jameson to the moon. Hope is the thing that took Cesar Chavez and made him believe he can organize migrant Mexican farm workers and lead them. Hope is the thing that took a man at 47 years old in South Africa and sent him to jail for 27 years, and he came out a world leader. Hope is the thing that took a black boy with a white mama and a goat herding daddy and made him believe that he can be president. A whole lot of people said, no, you can't. But America stood up and said, yes, you can. Now, brilliant pathways, I don't know about you. Hope is that little voice in your head that whispers maybe when the whole world is screaming no. And I don't know about you. Scott, I don't know where you're from. Rick, I don't know where you're from. Young lady, I don't know what you're from. But where I'm from, where I was born, where I grew up, brother, I thought my name was no. Can I go to your school? No. Can I go over there? No. You think I can be an engineer? No. You think I can be a doctor? No. Can I get a job? No. You think I can go to grad school? No. All the beautiful women in this room, I remember when I was growing up, I used to ask them for their phone number. You know what they used to tell me? No. But Josh, back in the day, they didn't want me, but now since I'm hot, you see, the point is this. Many of our children grow up every day thinking their name is no, and their mom and daddy may tell them no. The society may tell them no. Their community may tell them no. But when they come in front of you and they're in your presence, you better tell them yes. They got to have hope. They got to have belief. They got to believe that if they do what they're supposed to do, they can achieve. And I call myself an edu-evangelist. I'm a STEM zealot. I'm in the street. I've been talking about STEM before it was even cool. I remember when STEM was SMET. It was SMET. I even was on a 2-year panel at the National Science Foundation. It took us 2 years to take 4 letters and change them around and go from SMET to STEM. I remember it was MET, when it was ET, when it was TET. We went from SMET and they said it was too close to SMUT, so they came up with STEM. That's called research. That's called research. And you know, technology ain't gonna never save anybody. Now, I know we have educators and teachers, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I got 4 STEM degrees and technology never saved anybody. I never saw kids say, when we got that new energy efficient bus, I knew then I was gonna change the world. Never seen a kid say, when we got them windows, when we got those windows that reflect the sun and I can look out and people can't see me, I knew then I wanted to be a doctor. Never. I never saw a kid when he walked in and saw that Prometheus board. It said, that's all I needed to change the world was the Prometheus board. The only thing that ever changed a kid was a caring person grabbing them by their head and looking them in their eyes and giving them the 4 magic words. I believe in you. That's the only thing that ever changed a kid. STEM is a tool. It's a tool. And to go from despair to change and achievement, we got to go down a street called hope. And we want to believe everybody is hopeful. So we got a bunch of middle-class people sitting around creating curriculum and tools for hopeful people when 90% of the kids are in despair. To go from hope to achievement, that's a head thing. That's why my little nerdy kid loved the Prometheus board. And when he did see the reflective windows, he really thought he could change the world because he was already hopeful. What about the kids in despair? To go from despair to hope, that's a heart thing. And technology doesn't speak to the heart. Technology doesn't touch the heart. Technology doesn't transform the heart. The only thing that transforms the heart is heart to heart, woman to man, man to woman, people to people. And that's why you're important. Sometimes I listen to people talking about education, and I believe that they believe that you can put a donkey in a room with a Prometheus board and everything will be all right. As long as they do its pace all right. That ain't the case. That ain't the case. I know it saved a life because I know it saved my life. It was my 3rd grade teacher. My 3rd grade teacher grabbed me by the collar and she looked at me and she said, Kelvin, you're gonna learn and I'm going to kill you. And I chose life. I chose life. Because it's 75 million cells in my body believed her. Because she showed up every day, committed to our somebodyness and letting us know that there was a world out there that we was gonna have to go out and make a way in it, regardless of our background, regardless of where we came from. And oh yeah, I used to be a professor. Thank you, Josh. Josh mentioned that in passing in an introduction. I was a professor at Tulane University, first and only African-American ever tenured in the history of a college of engineering at Tulane University. Was there for 12 years. I used to go to work every day listening to Tupac, Me Against the World, and I leave every day listening to Biggie, Who Shot Ya? Because it was a battle. Never had a black coworker. It was a battle. Then the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, Tulane University made an unbelievable decision, right? Tulane University, the most highly rated R1 research institution in the state of Louisiana, decided to keep the football team and eliminate the engineering program. So I lost a six-figure tenure position overnight. And one of my buddies, Greg Washington, president of George Mason, we always talk. He said, Mackie, the only way you lose tenure is by an act of God. I said, well, bro, God decided to act. And I never forget my buddy, who was the football coach, called. And he said, Mackie, who'd ever thought I'll still be at Tulane coaching football and you'll be going as a tenured faculty member. I said, oh man, don't worry about that. He said, what? I said, maybe the young men in the inner city got it right. He said, what you mean? I said, maybe I should have been doing wind sprints when I was studying calculus. Because the message that the president of Tulane University sent to the children of New Orleans and across this country is the message that people send every weekend. And that message is you can come to this university and run that rock, dunk that ball, hit that pill, stop, drop it like it's hot and entertain us. But don't you think about coming to this university and getting a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics degree and saving yourself and your community from the next natural disaster. That's what we're up against every weekend. That's why 1 million black and brown boys get a football and a basketball before the age of 4 and no one says anything. But when I talk about putting STEM in the hands of 1 million kids on Saturdays before the age of 4, everybody want to know, why is that necessary? Is that possible? Have you evaluated it? Have you thought about it? Have you put together a strategy team? What will come out of that? How do you know that they want it? Well, how you know they want the football and the basketball? If you never expose it to them, they'll never be it. And the NBA and the NFL never have workforce development problems. 3,300 colleges playing Division I, II, and III football and basketball. You know what they ain't never looking for, got a problem looking for? Football and basketball players. Because they give it to them before they hit the schoolhouse door. And the work that we're doing is we're trying to put STEM in the hands of kids and demystify it for them so when they get to the schoolhouse door, they can have a conversation with the teacher on the teacher level so they'll know this for me like it's for everybody else. And I believe because I was that kid. When I was 9 years old, my uncle, father dropped out of school in 8th grade to pick cotton. My mother went to state-approved Negro high school. And I'll never forget, my uncle came to visit. He brought me an erector set. Him and my daddy sitting in the corner drinking their libations. 9 years old, I took that erector set and I put it together and the car ran across the floor. My uncle said, boy, gonna be an engineer. I never heard of one, didn't know how to spell it, had never met one. But when I went to college, they said, what you gonna be? I said, I'm gonna be an engineer. When I got to college and they said, your score's not high enough, what you gonna be? I said, my uncle said I'm gonna be an engineer. When I got to grad school, they said, what you gonna major in? I said, my uncle said I'm gonna be an engineer. And when I started to work with my PhD and they said, well, we don't know if you can do this, I said, my uncle said I'm gonna be an engineer. And the more kids we tell that to and speak seeds of hope into them, they're gonna believe it and go down these brilliant pathways to get there. After Tulane fired me, I came home. When I got to my house, I was looking at the front door. I thought about the fact in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, my family lost 29 houses. 8 relatives that moved into my house. Now I lost my job. Guys was up in the tree, cutting the tree. I said, look, man, you wanna come down out that tree? Opened the front door and my 2 sons was playing with their train, Thomas, and they stopped and they ran up to me and I kissed them, love you, sons. And the train was just playing by itself. I went in the kitchen. Tracy was cooking for everybody. She had the red beans on. She had the gumbo on. She had a etouffee on. And look, I know y'all had dinner here, but she was making her world famous potato salad. They don't know how to make potato salad up here. Her potato salad just smooth. It was so smooth, we just rub it on our face. Whoa! Some good potato salad, woman. I kissed her, said, I love you. And the air conditioning vent, the oven vent was on, the air conditioner was on, the window was open. I just saw money going out the window. My little nephew had moved in with me here in the corner. Here in the corner with the computer plugged in, the TV on, the iPad plugged in, the headphones plugged in. Man, can you just turn something off? My old uncle had moved in with me. He lost his house. 33 years at Folgers Coffee. He's sitting there watching the same news on a 6-inch television every 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, can you turn the TV off and just go for a walk? My big brother that moved in with me, he upstairs. He done lost his job. He upstairs. Brother, he upstairs by himself with the air conditioner on, the lights on, the TV on. I said, can everybody just come downstairs and get in the same room? My dad had moved in with me. The week before Hurricane Katrina, my daddy was diagnosed with level 2 lung cancer. Supposed to start his treatment the day of Hurricane Katrina, but we had to evacuate. We went different ways. It took us 6 weeks to find our dad and get him back in the system. When we got him back in the system, they couldn't diagnose him because the water destroyed all of his records. Took us 2 more weeks to ride around to Houston and different places, looking for a hospital, a doctor that'll take him and re-diagnose him to get him his medicine. By the time they re-diagnosed him, the cancer had spread all over his body. This big old strong man who dropped out of school in 8th grade to pick cotton. Then the aftermath of Hurricane Betsy in 1965 put a ladder on a car and eventually created a roofing company that eventually hired 100 people. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, he lost his business, he lost his dream house, and eventually he lost his life. And believe it or not, Hurricane Katrina was a STEM disaster. Hurricane Katrina hit Mississippi, not New Orleans. The levees collapsed, and that's why we suffered the damage that we did, because scientists and engineers and technologists knew we had a problem and didn't do what they were supposed to do. So don't tell me technology and STEM is just about the head when we making decisions every day with our heart and putting people in danger. My daddy's sitting there, he on hospice, he on his oxygen machine, he waving. And I thought about it, all these people depending upon me, and I done lost my job. I thought about the 2 lessons that my mom and dad taught me. My mom taught me that a job may be your resource, but God is your source. And my daddy taught me that a man and a woman are supposed to get up every day and go out and hunt and kill, but they shall not eat. So I went in my room, I fell on my knees and I prayed. And when I got up the next day, since I had 4 STEM degrees, I went out and I created an alternative energy company where we took waste vegetable oil and turned it into biodiesel and sold it into the petroleum bloodstream. And I tell you that story because since I had 4 STEM degrees, I was able to create a business such that me and my family never had to depend on another man, another woman, another government to do for us what we otherwise could do for ourselves. And that's the American dream for all of our children, to get an education so that they don't have to never depend on another man or woman or government to do for them what they could do for themselves. That's why we do the work that we do. That's why pathways are important. That's why we got to show up every day and speak hope into every kid. Because if we don't, what options do we have? Growing up in New Orleans, I thought I was going to be a basketball player. I had a wicked crossover and a jump shot that just wouldn't quit. Matter of fact, a little dude named Avery Johnson was my backup. One night playing against Master P and Booker T. Washington, I took a long jump shot. I used to come to the gym, and when I walk in the gym, everybody in the gym used to go, shh, because it was going to be raining threes all night long. And one night I took a long jump shot. One of the few jump shots I missed, ricocheted off the rim. The young man grabbed the ball, and my arm, they went that way, I went this way, and I suffered a traumatic shoulder separation. My coach said, oh no, Calvin, he took me to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, doctor came out and the doctor looked. Doctor said, oh no, and the doctor ran back out. Doctor came back in with 3 more doctors. And all 4 of the doctors got around me and they took a sheet and they tied me up. They did a tug of war and popped my shoulder back in. They said, young man, there's 2 things we want to tell you. And I went gangster on them, like, what? They said, 1, you'll never be able to play basketball again. And 2, you suffered a traumatic shoulder separation. They said, Calvin, your dreams are destroyed. I said, oh no. He took me home. We got to my house, he knocked on the door. Knock, knock, knock. My mom answered the door. Now you're raising kids, they're playing sports. You got to be at every game. You got to be at practice. You got to be at these meetings. My mom wasn't even at the game. I got 2 sons that play sports. I'm having a moment. You got to go to everything, buy tennis shoes, all that foolishness. Coach knocked on the door. My mom answered the door. He said, Miss Mack, I'm sorry to tell you, your son suffered a traumatic shoulder separation. He'll never be able to play basketball again. My mom looked at me and she only had one thing to say. She said, what are you going to do now? We told you to study. We told you to study. I said, Mama, what about my shoulder? She said, boy, shut up and get in this house. That's a real mama there. We need more mamas like that in this world. It'll be different. Karen, I came in the room, I laid in the bed and I looked at God, what am I doing? God said, boy, don't worry about your shoulder. You're gonna do more for this world with your head than you ever thought you'd do with your legs and your arms. I went to school the next day to find my favorite teacher, Miss V. And when I walked into the building, I saw Miss V. I said, Miss V, you heard about my? She said, shut up, Kel, we heard about your shoulder. She said, but what are you gonna do now? We told you to study, we told you to study. I said, Miss V, I don't know. She said, Kelvin, I don't know ain't good enough more in the 21st century. She said, in the 21st century, there'll only be two types of people. It won't be black or white, it won't be Asian, Hispanic. It'll be those in the know and those not in the know. Kelvin, we need you to be in the brilliant pathways. We have to make sure all our children are in the know. She said, look, Kelvin, what you want to be? I said, all right, Ms. V, I want to be an engineer. She said, who, you? I said, yeah. She said, Kelvin, do you know what an engineer does? I said, no, but it sounds real good. She said, Kelvin, nobody in your family ever been to college before. How you gonna go to college and be an engineer? I said, I'm gonna go. She said, look, Kelvin, if you want to be an engineer, you got to go to college. I said, bet. She said, all right, if you're going to go to college, you have to go take this test. I said, what test? She said, the SAT. Now, Brilliant Pathways, I was ignorant. And don't get bent out of shape when people call you ignorant. Ignorant means you just don't know. Stupid means there's no hope for you. I was just ignorant. Flavor Flav, stupid. Kanye West has taken it to a whole nother level, stupid. I said I wasn't going there. I was just ignorant. I was just ignorant. I was so ignorant when they told me to go take the SAT. I thought SAT meant Saturday. And then I knew it meant Saturday because then they told me the test was on. Genius. Genius. So that Friday night, I took my little girlfriend to the game to support my team with my broken arm. After the game, we went to a little dance where I got my boogie on with my broken arm. Then I took my little girlfriend home and I got up on Saturday morning to take my Saturday test. And when I showed up, all the kids that you all work with, all the kids that you all have mentored, all the kids watching, they know that this SAT was very important. This was something they had to work on. Everybody came there, they was nervous, they was biting their nails. I put my head down. They had to wake me, young man, wake up, take this test, take this test. And they gave me that test. And I looked at that test, I was so ignorant. I didn't know that word, it's to that word, it's to that word, it's to that word. So you know what our students do on those tests when they don't know what they're supposed to know. I started going A, B, C, A, B, C, D, C, D. I better change this thing up, A, B, C, D, A, B, C. I looked around, I was the first one finished. I was like a bunch of dummies and put my head back. They had to wake me up and said, young man, wake up, go home. And back then we didn't have MySpace, YouTube, websites, TikTok, Snapchat, internet. We didn't have that. We had to wait on our scores 6 weeks. So 6 weeks later, I went to my mailbox and Rick, I opened it up. And I saw those scores. Pulled them on, I ripped it open, I looked at them. I said, oh yeah. And I went to school to find Miss V. When I got to school, Miss V said, Kelvin, you got them? I said, I got them, Miss V. Miss V said, Kelvin, how did you do? Ignorantly and confident, I looked at Miss V. I said, Miss V, I got 84%. She said, Kelvin, 84% on the SAT? That's unbelievable, Kelvin, especially for you. See, life and death lives in the tongue. She said, you, Kelvin? She said, but Kelvin, I never heard the test explained in percentages before. She said, what's your raw score? What's your total score? Ignorantly and confidently, I looked at it and I screamed, 840. She said, no, boy, you got some issues. She said, the test is not out of 1,000, Kelvin. The test is out of 1,600. You need to go take that test again. So no, not that Saturday test. I do much better on Fridays. I'll stick with my Friday test. She said, look, Kelvin, you still want to be an engineer? I said, bet. She told me something that changed my life. She said, Kelvin, never forget this. There isn't a man alive that can create a test to measure what God has put within you if you're willing to work towards it. She said, if you want to be an engineer, there's a college recruitment fair at the New Orleans Superdome Saturday. And I went to that Superdome on Saturday and I kicked that door open. And when I walked in, first table I saw was the Georgia Tech engineers. It's like divine intervention. I want to be an engineer. First table I said Georgia Tech. said, sir, he said, what do I do? I said, man, I'd like to be an engineer. He said, you came to the right place. We done rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and heck of engineers. I was like, yeah. He said, son, what's your SAT score? Ignorantly and calm down, I looked at him and I screamed, 840. He was like, oh no, son, you can't come to our school with no 840 SAT. The man was having conniptions. He wouldn't even give me an application. He said, I've never even heard scores that low. And lesson number one is just because the school ranked number one, it doesn't mean it's number one for you. Just because the school ranked number one, that doesn't mean it's number one for our children. We have to find a school for our students, and students, you have to find a school where people are going to accept you as you are, meet you where you are, and help you to become what it is you want to become. And that doesn't necessarily mean some school that's number one. He said, look, I can't do anything for you, but there's a school over there. And I looked over there, and the guy was at a table, no skirt on the table, just a guy at a table. He said, go over there. They may be able to help you. Went over to that table, and the guy said, what can I do for you? He said, man, that dude over there told me to come over here. He said, son, what you want to be? I said, I want to be an engineer. He said, you came to the right place. He said, what's your SAT score? I said, man, I can play some ball. He said, no, I need those scores. I said, I can dance. He said, no, I need those scores. This time I whispered. I said, hey, he was shaking his head. He said, I tell you what, son, you're a diamond in the rough, but a diamond sure enough. Come to Morehouse College. We'll make you into a doctor. We'll make you into a lawyer. We'll make you into an engineer. There's a place in this country for all of our students to go that's going to meet them where they are and do like we're doing every day to shine that roughness off them and let them shine for the world to see. We got to believe it for them to believe it. June 1985, I went to Morehouse. When I got to Morehouse, everybody was laughing at the way I talk. Because we from New Orleans and we talk funny. You hear some of it. I went alligator hunting recently, hanging out with the Cajuns. Some of my accent has come back. We talk funny. They laughed at the way I talk when I got to Morehouse. Stop saying things like I'm about it, how you do that there, I'm the man right here. You heard me, little woadies off the heezy for sheezy up in here, cousin. You see, I'm bilingual. I'm bilingual. You don't have to come here via Ellis Island or the Rio Grande or get on a piece of cardboard and land in Florida and be a person in need of English as a second language. Nobody was conjugating a verb to be in my house. It was I be, we be, you be, all us be up in here. Morehouse said, see spot run. I was like, no, they said right. They said, don't pass go. They said, go directly to remedial reading. They said, boy, you're reading on about an 8th grade level. And Scott, can you imagine the pain and indignation I felt every day? When my friends who had been mentored by Brilliant Pathways and College for Every Student was going to World Lit and English Comp. And at the age of 18, I had to go down to a basement of a building with 8th graders. Who used to call me and my buddy LD for Louisiana dummies. And thank goodness Morehouse believed in this thing called hope. And there was a former president emeritus of Morehouse named Benjamin Elijah Mays, and they had a quote on the wall every day when I was on my way to remedial reading. The quote read, when you find out that you're behind in a race of life, you got 2 choices, run faster or quit. The problem in America right now, too many of our children are quitting. I got up every day and I ran and I ran and I ran. My friends laughed and they laughed and they laughed. I ran and I ran and I ran. They put me in front of the computer. Every day, let the words go by faster and faster. Every day I read and I read. I remember, forget my remedial reading teacher, Dr. Addie Mitchell, used to call me doctor. And after 3.5 years, after starting Morehouse in remedial reading and developmental mathematics, I finished Morehouse #1 in mathematics, #5 in the largest class Morehouse ever produced, magna cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa. And when I came off the stage, they put a microphone in front of my face. They said, Kelvin, when your father dropped out of school in 8th grade to pick cotton, when your mother went to the state-approved Negro high school, when you grew up in a house with no books, when the test said you wasn't college material, who'd ever thought you would come to Morehouse to do the things you've done? They said, what are you going to do now, Kelvin? I said, you know what? They said, what? I said, you know what? I said, what? They said, I said, I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. It's only 1.5 miles away, $1.50 bus ride. And 2 weeks later, I started Georgia Tech, the school that wouldn't even give me an application. And 18 months later, I finished my second undergraduate degree, 2 degrees in 5 years. 2 years after that, I got a master's in mechanical engineering, 3 degrees in 7 years to the inner city, ghetto kid from back of town, Gertown, they say never should have been in college in the first place. 4 years after that, in 1996, I became one of 11 African-Americans in the country that year to receive a PhD in mechanical engineering. Now, people, I didn't come, thank you. I didn't come way up here to brag. I came up here to tell you that story to let you know that each and every one of us and each and every one of our children been impregnated with something so great, such that if they're properly nurtured and give an opportunity to give birth to it, it'll make Bill Gates look like a midget in the annals of history. But yet, see, too many of us and too many of our children have already committed to having abortions on their dreams. Why are you here? Is this just a job? Are you quiet quitting? Are you just trying to get to your next gig? Because your heart in this. Because everything you do, everything you say, everything you don't do, everything you don't say, literally got life and death tied to it. If Mr. Carter wouldn't have grabbed me by my collar and threatened to kill me, I don't know who I would be today. And the thing about teachers, we don't get to see the product sometimes. And I had a STEM event recently with like 200 kids, and this lady walked in the gym, and when I saw her, I started crying. I just ran over to her and hugged her. I said, Miss Carter, this is your work. That's the work we are doing. And young people, that's why you got to respect the people that show up every day. Because these people have made a decision and a sacrifice to give a part of themselves so that you can have more. Don't ever forget that's the work that we do. And the takeaway is just three things we got to focus on. We got to focus on skill sets. You got to have skills to pay the bills. In the 21st century, the man and woman who doesn't have skills ask people how much they pay. The man and woman who does have skills tell people how much they charge. And that's why our kids got to have STEM skills, because our children need to be in a position to tell people how much they charge. After skill sets, our kids got to have assets. And I'm not talking about what you sitting on. Assets is not something you sit on. And assets is not money. They say, if you want to know where you are today, look at the 5 people you hung out with 5 years ago. And if you want to know where you're going in 5 years, look at the 5 people you're hanging out with today. And that's why I'm so happy I hung out with Karen and Rick 10 years ago, and I'm happy to be hanging out with them tonight because they're going in the right direction. And the fact that you with them, saying you're going in the right direction too. And students, the fact that you hanging with these people, saying you're going in the right direction too. So assets are the people you surround yourself with. I collect people, Leroy, Mr. Carter, I collect people. And I see something in a man or woman I want, I collect them and I call them and I try to develop that skill in me so I can be a better individual, a better conduit for our students. After skill sets and assets, I call these the sets of life. You got to have the right mindset. And that's where the heart comes from. When we pour into our kids, they can have all the rest of this stuff, but if they don't have the right mindset, if they don't have hope and belief that they can start from wherever and end up on the top, it's all over for them. But I'm glad I'm with people with the right skill sets. Definitely happy that I'm with people with the right assets. And it's clear that you all have the right mindset. Now, the question is, how do we transfer that to everybody in every institution that we come in contact with? In closing, I got to go. And I want to say thank you again to Rick for having me, because Consuela Kickbush, who kicked butt this morning, we've been working together for 20 years and had never met. We talked on the phone. We've been on same contracts. We've spoken at same conferences. She leave in the morning. I get there, she's gone. And I leave, she get there, and we had never met each other. So to stand here and watch her do her thing in person, then run up and we hug each other and tell each other we love you and keep stay on the battlefield and keep working. That's what's gonna happen to you all when we're not here. You all gonna remember a night to say, remember we was there, we still doing this work. Those are the warriors that we need to solve this problem. But in closing, I gotta go. So I got a plane to catch in the morning. And you know, my wife, love her to death, but she was like right before COVID. Remember when the plane disappeared in Malaysia and the plane ran into the mountain in Russia? She was like, look, you got to stop all this flying. I'm like, look, I got to go. I got to go get a speech. She said, no, I'm trying to raise these boys and them planes disappearing and you just need to stop. I said, look at you all in love. She said, no, I don't want to raise these boys by myself and these planes crashing. I said, look, if I don't come home and the plane crash, tell my sons 2 things. She said, what? I said, tell them 1, that I was a man, and 2, I got up every day and tried to answer those 2 existential questions of who am I and why am I here? She said, all right, then. She said, but you need to stop flying. I said, I need to stop flying? I said, look, if my mouth ain't moving, we ain't eating, and you like to eat, so I need to fly. She said, no. I hope they're not taping this. She said, no, you know, you need to stop flying because we got to raise these boys. I said, look, if the plane crashes, you're going to be all right. She said, I don't want to talk like that, Kelvin. I said, no, I've done my business. If the plane crashed, you're going to be all right. She said, stop talking like that. I said, look, woman, if the plane crashed, you're going to be all right. She said, well, how all right am I going to be? I said, double indemnity, all right. I said, look, woman, listen to me. Rick, you're going to feel this one. Listen to me one time in your life. Listen to me. She said, what if the plane go down, there's only one word I want on my tombstone. She said, Calvin, stop talking like that. I don't like to have these conversations. I said, look, the plane go down, promise me you're going to put one word on my tombstone. She said, all right, fool, I'm listening. What word you want on your tombstone? Brilliant Pathways, I told her, if I die, put empty on my tombstone. Because I want the world to know I gave it that's all we're asking of you. You give it your all, and I promise you, you will transform lives and touch generations yet unborn. Stay on the battlefield, keep doing the work, and we need you. Thank you all for listening. Thank you.
I've had an easy job all day up until now. Wasn't that incredible? Let's hear it again for Dr. Mackey. You know, isn't it so refreshing to see someone walk their talk or run their run in his case? You know, you gave us your all. And it was amazing, Dr. Mackey, how for me, you put a real pulse from the heart into STEM. You connected the brain and the heart that gave us hope and instilling the hope for the dream makers to pay it forward. Remember, he started off early. He says, you got to see me go from 0 to 100. I missed the first 90. I saw it from 90 to 100. But he shared with us the story of his uncle. Thank God for your uncle. We're uncles, we're aunts, we're people to many kids where we get to do the same thing to carry it forward. Dr. Mackey, you started off by saying thank yous. Well, thank you to us. It was an amazing after-dinner presentation. And it stick with me. You talked about the three types of people, those that take something, those that break something and make something. Well, there's no doubt you're a maker because I believe you made our day. Thank you for your presentation. Still don't know what to do. We're going to make a little shift in the program now. And, you know, talking about the hope and Rick has always talked about us, the work we do as being the dream makers for folks that need the hope. They need to dream and the ones that are going to say you're going to do it. And it's a true honor at this point to move into some recognition parts of our programs where we're going to recognize our schools of distinction for last year. And then we're going to recognize individuals, which we rarely do, as the Mario Pena Awards. At this time, over here where our lovely assistant Hannah is if we can get the schools that have been awarded the schools of distinction to come over here and meet with them. We want to come up and want to recognize you, share with you an appreciation for the work you've done in paying it forward. So if we can have them come up now, just to save a little bit of time, because we've got quite a few this year, meet over there. Now, Schools of Distinction is the highest award that we can give to our schools for the recognition of the commitment that they've made in some of those challenging communities. They meet the criteria of taking our core practices and embedding them into the life and into the culture of the schools. It includes going above and beyond what our typical schools do, including having last year 20 new trained CCR advisors throughout the schools, exceeding expectations and truly making a difference in the life of the kids that we talk about. So it's a privilege now to bring up our School of Distinction coordinator, Hannah Cokery, with Dennis Fahey, who will begin awarding the programs.
I'm blown away by how many people are up here. We're going to welcome you onto the stage and hand you our award. Sable Valley Central School. Beekmantown Middle School. Crown Point Central School. Moriah Central School. Okay. Ticonderoga Central School. Delaware Academy at Delhi. J.W. Leary Junior High School. Plattsburgh High School. Otter Valley Union High School. Northeastern Clinton Central School. Booker Middle School. Millbury Middle School. That's Millbury. August Aarons Elementary School. Sanford B. Dole Middle School. Kohala Middle School. Gilbertsville Mount Upton Central School. Brooklyn Institute for Liberal Arts. Eximius College Preparatory Academy. Pelham Preparatory Academy. Career Readiness Academy. Eugene Ashley High School. John T. Hoggard High School. New Hanover High School. Northern Lehigh. Friendship Central School. Hallen Prep Academy. St. Joseph's Secondary School. And Balbriggan Community College.
That's it.
Congratulations, everyone.
"28 schools from the shores of Hawaii to Ireland and everywhere in between exceeded expectations. Congratulations to all of you. Dr. Mackey, you'd be proud because what you talked about is what they've done. Okay, blood, sweat, and tears, and it's not a song from the 70s. The next aspect we're going to move on to is another great award that CFES Brilliant Pathways offer. It is the Mario Pena Award, and it's a true privilege to have my colleagues, Dennis Fahey and Tara Smith, award that tonight.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears was a group, not a song. Just to say, and I remember it. It's sort of. It's a great honor for me tonight to be here to help present this year's Mario Pena Award, named in honor and memory of former CFES board member and Rick Dalton's mentor, Mario Pena. CFES Brilliant Pathways presents this award annually to an exceptional educator who has helped students become college and career ready. Sarah, would you present the first? Or you want me to go? Oh, that's right. I'll go.
I'll just stand longer in my heels.
Those are great looking shoes, by the way.
I rested them a little bit during dinner. But...
Strong communities are the bedrock of society. Community is so essential to the well-being of children and families around the world. As a program director, I've worked in many communities around the country. Before I would go to any new district, I would make sure to do my homework and try to get insight into the region, knowing the educational system, the community services, recreation, cultural heritage, the history, and the economics. As hard as I tried to make sure that our CFES Brilliant Pathways programs fit into that local community, I didn't always get the feedback that I was requiring. That is until I met Gary Cook in the Leatherstocking region. Gary's here tonight with his lovely bride, Ellen, of 41 years. God bless you, Ellen. Ellen is also serves as the mayor of Cooperstown, New York, which makes Gary the first man. Gary spent 31 years in public education, serving as a school psychologist, a principal, and a superintendent. He retired in 2012, having worked in Fort Plain, Central New York, Milford Central School System in New York, O&C BOCES, Cooperstown Central School, and finally the superintendent of Worcester Central School System. He is presently the director of Clark Scholarship Program. As Rick said this morning, he oversees some $4.5 million a year in scholarships for our kids in the Leatherstocking region. There are presently 1,000 new and returning recipients of that scholarship. And over the last 20 years, the Clark Scholarship Program has funded scholarships to nearly 15,000 students and totaling more than $128 million. Gary's more than just a pretty face with facial hair. He also has access to big bucks for our kids. But he is also a consummate community servant. He's presently the judge in the town of Otsego, served on the Cooperstown Volunteer Fire Department as chief, assistant chief of emergency underwater search and rescue. You did that? As well as the department chaplain. There you go. He's been the town supervisor for the town of Otsego, president of the Rotary International Cooperstown. He's on the Community Foundation Board of Directors, Otsego Lake Watershed Council, Cooperstown Sportsmanship Association, and the Otsego Lake Association of Board of Directors. There's a reason that you're married 41 years, Ellen. You never see the boy. That's the answer to a happy marriage and longevity. During his spare time, you can find him on weekends during the month leading up to Christmas, wandering the streets of Cooperstown, dressed as Father Christmas. He's starting to get into costume as we speak. And in the spring, you can find him hopping around the village dressed as the Easter Bunny. I'm the speaker. I have the notes. I can I can control anything I want to. You're the Easter Bunny in the spring. Gary's extensive knowledge of the Leatherstocking region, his connections with the educational powers that be at both the local and post-secondary level, his deep understanding of the cultural and climate of the area have made him the guiding light for CFES and me in the Leatherstocking region. Gary epitomizes the Mario Pena Award. He's a crusader for our kids, has developed and expanded the relationships that have increased college access and success for our kids. You know, Gary, Mario would have loved you. Him. Mario's a him. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for my friend and Gary, this year's recipient of the Mario Pena Award, Gary Cook. Easter Bunny? Easter Bunny. Gotta grow the ears. You want to say a couple of words?
Just a couple, okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much. This was sort of unexpected. No, I am in awe of the speakers today, so I cannot even hold a flame to any of them. This means a great deal to me. When I was in training to be a psychologist, there was one of my professors who I often equate to having one of the few people who had true wisdom. And he said to us when we were learning to be clinicians, he said this, and bear with me, he was not a very good grammatical person. He said, you never have no effect upon a person. And I took that as my mantra, my life words, and I recognized that everything I do, every moment I had with a child had an effect. And every person I met had an effect upon me. And so my life was really, and my life still is in that kind of a mantra, that every time I interact with anyone, I want it to be as positive and as helpful and as caring as possible. Not always successful, but that has been my life goal since that very first moment back in the early 80s when I had this professor who came up with this line of, you never have no effect upon a person. And so tonight, this affects me. My being here with you affects me. And I hope that my story, regardless of being the Easter Bunny, will have some sort of impact on you, because we cannot stop doing this work. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Gary, and thank you for all that you do. When we were all 10 years younger, I was on a plane flying to Hawaii because I have the privilege of working with our Hawaii schools. Short straw, right? And it wasn't the first time I was traveling to Hawaii, but I was still pretty green and maybe not as comfortable in my role, but passionate about what I was doing. Obviously, I'm still here. And going into our CFES schools, and I arrive in Kaneohe, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu. And I walk into James B. Castle High School, and I meet the teachers, I meet the liaison, I meet the principal, and one person caught my eye. She had beautiful long hair, flower behind her ear, plumeria, I believe, because that's sort of her signature move that I know that now. Long eyelashes. And you could tell she was the teacher that everyone wanted to be around, all the students. You know those teachers, right? Where it's like, people just want to hang out with them. Students want to hang out with them. And as another teacher, like, why do they want to hang out with them and not me? I'm cool enough. But there's something about her and other teachers we know that just pull you in. And as a young person, a student, you can't help but wanting to be around that person. So I meet her and she says, my name is Corin. She's the CFES liaison. And she has changed lives, not just at Castle High School, because now she's moved on and she is the director of a TRIO program at Windward Community College, which has been a great friend and partner of CFES for many years. And she has taken this passion and this grace and this ability to connect with people, whether they're strangers or her own, and make them feel welcome and confident and leaders and capable. While Calvin Mackey was talking, every time he said something profound about these people in his life that have lifted him up, I kept thinking, that's exactly who Corin is. She's the teacher, now college professional, that continues to provide students with hope and expectation, because it's not enough to believe in someone. You have to encourage them to be empowered on their own. And she does that. She did that. And you could immediately recognize how incredibly special and meaningful and important she is to every single student that she has been in contact with. So it's my pleasure to award Corin Imora Fafia. I didn't stumble. I had to practice that with our Mario Pena Award.
Oh, I was shaking. I was like, what are you doing, Sarah?
And I wish I wore something nice.
Don't have my flower. Oh, thank you so much. I just feel so honored to be back here. I partnered with CFES back in 2010. It just felt like family and just so right. And I'm not prepared for this at all, but I'm so happy to be back and to continue this partnership in my new role from teacher to counselor to director, but at University of Hawaii Windward Community College for our TRIO program. So I'm sorry, I'm not prepared, but I love the CFES Ohana, and I look forward to continuing the legacy with everyone and meeting everyone. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you.
Well, it's that time. We've come to the end of our program. For our new folks or those that have been back, I hope you got to see and sense and feel who CFES Brilliant Pathways is. We kind of hit upon it throughout the day. We've embedded it throughout, and we bring the first half of the conference to a close. Just to let you know is after this session, get comfortable. We have a social for you to intermix with each other and socialize at Caldwell's in the main lobby. Tomorrow morning, we'll have breakfast back here in the ballroom at 8, and we'll kick off today's session at 8:30 with a quick review, a panel, concurrent sessions, and another outstanding keynote to wrap up the session. What a day. Between Dr. Mackey and Consuelos, they shared their stories. They gave us their passion, and transferred that hope. As I leave tonight, I have hope. I hope you come back tomorrow. And as Rick started off the day, we talk about you guys are the dream makers for folks. You're the facilitator of people dreams. I hope you go back now and make some wonderful dreams. Have a great evening. We'll see you back here at 8 o'clock.